I'm just not sure that Kyler Murray is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just going to retire. Whitey, big fan of the show. Appreciate Ryan Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery. James Harden is systematically ruining the game of basketball. He's the most overrated player. And there you are, the Chicago Bears with a championship defense. And Mitch, I'm sure Dancing with the Stars is happy to have Antonio back. If you think we're going to get Zion, that's your bad. Now listening to Open Season, your host, Billy Allen.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Open Season. I'm Billy Allen, as always, joined by Alex Tordai, Frank Bradica. We're talking a lot of NFL tonight. We're going to talk about Mac Jones and rank him against the other quarterbacks in the league. That should get pretty fun. Sure there won't be any arguments there. Preview the AFC and the NFC South. Get into some of those divisions. Spoiler alert, not a whole lot going on in the AFC South. Are you buying the hype on guys like Saquon Barkley, Brandon Ayuk, George Pickens, some of the big names from training camp? Brady had an absence from camp. Looks like he's going to be out for a little while. And the newest word on the street is maybe Durant is going to retire. No, that seems like a bogus report. But I love how Durant had to refute it anyway. God, that guy can't stay off Twitter. But, guys, we start out. We're going to get into a little bit of a Mac Jones discussion. Start out with the Patriots. Before we do that, Frank, let's kick things off with this day in sports.
All right, we're going to start in 1998. That might be the latest we've ever started, so hoorah. But it's Vijay Singh in Fiji winning the PGA Men's Golf Tournament. 2 shots over Steve Stricker. 2008, Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt sets new world record 9.69 to win the 100-meter. Same year, Michael Phelps on this day wins his 7th of his 8 gold medals in the Beijing Olympics. This one in the 100-meter butterfly. 2015, Jason Day beats Jordan Spieth. Record under 20 par for the PGA Championship.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty cool talking about guys like Michael Phelps and Usain Bolt. Those are some of my favorite athletes. You know, they weren't part of team sports, but, God, talk about 2 guys that were dominant.
I love Phelps before sports science told me that he was a fish, because then I was like, well, he's like got an unfair advantage. Prior to that, before they told me his feet were X amount bigger than the average person his size and all these other things, I was like, that guy's a winner. That guy's a champion. No, he's just like merman. I don't know.
Oh, so
let's
you
not forget. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. No.
Let's not forget how dominant Vijay Singh was as a golfer either. That guy was unstoppable for a little bit.
Was he?
Oh, yes. He was number 1 in the world.
Yeah, I remember that. Like when Tiger first lost his, but I don't remember. Did he won a lot of tournaments that year? Like a lot of majors and stuff?
Yes. Vijay Singh is as legit as it comes. I mean, he's in that rung beneath Tiger, Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Ben Hogan, those guys. He's in that rung beneath them, in my opinion. Like you could say potentially he's a top 10, top 15 golfer ever.
I feel like Usain Bolt is so impressive because he won all 3 events in 3 straight Olympics. It was like the 100-meter dash, the 200, and then one of the relays or something like that. It's basically like he was the fastest guy on the planet for like 8 consecutive years.
Usain Bolt is so impressive because those are sprinter events. To stay good at sprinting for 3 straight Olympics is virtually unheard of. I mean, it's to not pop a hammy, it's amazing a sprinter stayed healthy that long to win that much. That's what makes him so impressive. To be a great sprinter for 1 Olympics has happened, 2 Olympics for 3. I mean, he was great at sprinting for such a long time. That's so rare to me.
And to sprint that long and not get popped for roids, I mean, equally as impressive. You know, anybody that sprinted that long has pretty much gotten busted. Did Maurice Green ever get busted? Trying to think. Remember, he was a big sprinter for the USA.
But I don't know.
I remember when Marion Jones got busted. I was like so heartbroken.
Have her book.
Well, hey, anyway, we're going to get into a little bit of Mac Jones, obviously the quarterback for the New England Patriots, but there's been a lot of just talk about where people might rank him. You know, some people maybe put him in the top 10, some people 15, other people maybe towards the 20 marker. We figured it would be fun if we got into and just kind of went through some of the different teams. We'll, start out with the AFC and just kind of pass it around some of these different starting quarterbacks, but see where exactly we would take Mac Jones. So, guys, let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, their starter is Lamar Jackson. Certainly, I'd take Lamar Jackson over Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Any disagreement?
Yeah.
And then Buffalo Bills, you got Josh Allen. Not a whole lot of debate there. Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow. Really no debate there either.
This is going to get sad quickly.
Let's get into I think it's going to be funny to put an exact number on where we rank him across the board.
I agree. Keep going. Yeah.
He might be in the 20s for us. I mean, it's going to get ugly. But Cleveland Browns, it comes to Deshaun Watson or
Jacoby. Are we talking win now or to have as our franchise quarterback for the next 5 to 10 years?
I would say what Frank and I were talking about earlier is say for 1 year, all things were equal. Like you had the same offense or whatever.
Right. That's the way to do it. Let's do it like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the open season rules. So for everybody watching, if you were to have one of these quarterbacks and everything was equal, say they're on the same offense, same defense, who would you rather have? So we get to the Cleveland Browns, go to Deshaun Watson or Jacoby Brissett, whoever you count as the starter this year. Deshaun Watson probably looking at that extra year suspension, but guys, you're still taking Mac Jones there.
I'll take Deshaun Watson over him and Mac Jones over Jacoby Brissett, obviously.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
But let's just call that a win for the Browns because they have Deshaun Watson on the roster. So
all right, so the Broncos, we've got Russell Wilson, so we can skip that one too. I think we get into our first victory for Mac Jones. Let's go Houston Texans with Davis Mills.
I'll take Mac Jones by a little bit. I think Davis Mills with the Patriots wouldn't be that far off from Mac Jones.
Isn't it 60-40? Isn't Davis Mills underrated and Mac Jones is overrated? So
I'm just gonna take Mac in this case. I mean, Davis Mills, I feel like Alex, your point there, if he was being coached up by Belichick, he'd probably be having the same success. But I guess for me, it's just the difference. We've seen Mac Jones have the success, haven't seen Davis Mills have it yet. So
he's had some great games. He's had some really great
games.
But
also for the sake of this exercise, everybody's on the Bucs or Rams. You know what I mean? For the sake of this exercise, everybody's got an offensive line. Everybody's got weapons. Who would you rather have to run that operation?
Davis Mills has a better arm than Mac Jones. I said it.
But he's not smart.
I would take Mac Jones over. Right now, I'll take Mac Jones over Davis Mills.
All right. So Mac Jones, so he's not going to be the last ranked quarterback. Okay, that's good. That's assuring. Now we get into the Indianapolis Colts. You have Matt Ryan, who came over there from Atlanta. I personally still like Matt Ryan. I know he may not have a whole lot left, but we were just kind of talking about it. The arm talent is better. I mean, I honestly feel like Mac Jones, if he hits his potential, is probably looking at being a Matt Ryan type quarterback. So I'm just going to say go for the guy that's already there, that has the experience. I feel like Matt Ryan's not a bad quarterback at this point in his career if you give him a decent offense.
I agree. I'm with you. I think Matt Ryan over Mac Jones. Easy. That's an easy one, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't think as hard as you did. Yeah, Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Well, I was just trying to give it a little bit of respect. I don't know. I mean,
I feel like it's almost disrespectful to Matt Ryan. You had to explain it, but whatever.
that probably was disrespectful, I'm sure.
Billy, put Mac Jones on that Boston College team. Are they ranked at the end of that season?
No, probably not.
No,
Probably not.
no. No, you're right. I guess it is much more of a no-brainer when you think about. I mean, honestly, Matt Ryan's not that old for a quarter. What's he, 36? I mean, all the quarterbacks these days are going to play till 41, 42.
Matt Ryan, with the right roster, could win a championship.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence. I'm taking Trevor Lawrence. I feel like that is a pretty.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence has such a ghastly situation, or it had it last year. This year, I think things are going to look a little bit better, but
yeah, he has Travis Etienne coming back too. I mean, that guy was like they played together at Clemson. I feel like he's going to be a crucial role. I think it's just getting out of Urban Meyer, and I mean, that guy was a freaking criminal or whatever. Yeah. You know, it's just I just feel like Trevor Lawrence is going to be much improved. Yeah, I think we're going to see why he was the number one pick.
Yeah, again, all things are all the same. Like we're putting Trevor Lawrence on the Bucs or the Rams or whoever. Yeah, sorry, Matt. Can
I ask
a question? Rocks, buddy?
Ask it, Frank.
Is Urban Meyer like the Jamarcus Russell of coaching hires? I mean, I just can't. It's like him and Freddie Kitchens. Like I can't think of two guys less suitable to be NFL head coaches.
I think it's crazy that Urban Meyer can be so successful in college, but can't be successful at all in the NFL. I mean, it's kind of incredible. It's just like the power trip that guy has, and kind of like the power over the younger. Like I don't know. I just feel like it's interesting how he could be dominant in college and then like can't even get his head out of his ass in the NFL. I mean, it makes sense.
Saban, Petrino, Lane Kiffin. There's a lot of guys like that.
I'm not saying there aren't other guys that haven't done it. I'm just saying it's interesting when you could be like amazing at college and then you can't even like, you know, you can't even stay out of scandals as the actual coach. You can't even, you know, I mean, he was dressing down his entire coaching staff and telling him
the kicker.
Telling him that he's a winner.
Guys, the Dolphins players wanted to fight Saban. Petrino did not make it through the season. You guys are forgetting what colossal failures other guys have been in the exact same circumstance.
Urban Meyer was also a media failure. Not only was he a terrible coach, but he also was an embarrassment outside of the lines.
Which one of those?
Yeah, at least some of the worst coaches ever have given us good sound bites.
Are we forgetting Urban Meyer grinding with a 23-year-old college girl? Anyway, we should get back to the quarterback.
Bobby Petrino fell off his bike. Would have wasn't a minor.
I think that's better than cheating on his wife publicly, but whatever. That's just me.
Didn't Petrino do the exact same thing? But he crashed his motorcycle. He crashed his motorcycle. That's why we know.
Frank, I don't think we're making an argument that it hasn't happened before. I'm just saying it's interesting when you could like, you know, it's just like saying that you were amazing at one job. You go to the next one, you're like terrible. Like it takes a lot of things inherently to be good as a college coach or be dominant as a college coach. And, you know, to just not be able to take any of that and build on it in the NFL is interesting, I think. I mean, he's got a lot of connections. He's got a lot of people that like him, you know, or like prior to that move, you know, he talks to Belichick and all that, I think, right?
But over the course of time, hasn't it usually panned out that it doesn't work?
That it doesn't work if you're I mean, Frank, you have to start somewhere, right? Like a lot of these guys have to start in college or something. Like you can't necessarily choose your you do have to kind of start somewhere.
But dominant college coaches are usually bad NFL coaches. Young, aspiring college coaches are usually good NFL coaches, or older defensive guys that have been there forever. The young guy, Pete Carroll, the first time doesn't work. Lou Holtz, no matter what decade you do it in, it just doesn't work, and you bring that guy up. Nick Saban is the best college coach of all time, probably. Calamitous disaster. I'm just saying it happens a lot when you are the best of the best in college. It usually has something to do with your sovereign control of the organization, which you do not have when you coach grown men at the next level.
Yeah, I think that was so apparent with Urban Meyer with just like he's kicking a kicker. He is dressing down the coaches. He's like won like a game out there and he's telling people that he's a winner. It's like, I mean, guy is delusional. But anyway, let's return to the.
We got extremely off topic there. I don't know what the hell just happened.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We should have a shot clock on this. But anyway, I guess what we're saying is that we take Trevor Lawrence over Mac Jones. Let's go into Kansas City Chiefs. They have Patrick Mahomes. The Las Vegas Raiders, they've got Derek Carr. Los Angeles Chargers, they've got Justin Herbert. So I feel like those are all no-brainers. Then we get into the Miami Dolphins with Tua Tagovailoa. I'm gonna. I'll go Mac Jones on this one. I'll give it to Mac Jones on that one. Where do you guys stand, Mac Jones versus Tua?
I'll take. Oh God, they're so even in my opinion. God, but Tua's so injury prone. I'll go Mac Jones.
Yeah.
This is easy for me. It's Tua because you're asking me if I want left-handed or right-handed. You're asking me if I want right-handed Tua or left-handed Mac Jones. And I'm a lefty. I will say Tua.
All right. Only reason I'm going Mac is because I think he's more reliable than Tua and less injury prone.
Yeah. I mean, I think Tua is clearly the better athlete, right?
Yes.
And like has the better, but yeah, I think it's all about the ability to put it together, you know. I think he's just so small and slight. I don't know. I don't want to wish injuries on anyone. I just feel like injuries are in his future. I don't know. I hope they're not, but with the hip injuries in college and stuff like that, I don't know. I don't like the way he's going to age. Then we go to the New York Jets with Zach Wilson, who just had surgery and is going to bring about the Mike White era once again, 2.0. I know New York fans are excited for that. But Zach Wilson, the current starter of the New York Jets, I'm taking Zach Wilson on this one. I feel like if Zach Wilson was on the Pats right now, I feel like he'd be doing really well. I think the cluster F of an organization that they were last year, some of his injuries and everything contributed to his performance, but I like him as a prospect better. You could see why people could make a comparison to Mahomes, and I'm not saying that he is a Mahomes or anything like that, but you just see the arm talent and you see the athleticism. I'm not saying he's going to be great. I almost feel like Zach Wilson could be good if he goes on to another team after the Jets. But for the purposes of this, I like Zach Wilson as a prospect more than Mac Jones. How do you see it, Tordai?
Zach Wilson all day. Not even a hesitation on me. Like, I know Zach Wilson's gotten hurt, had some bad injury luck. I think it's a little bit different than Tua in my mind in that regard. But Zach Wilson is just so talented, and I think he's just such a better prospect than Mac Jones. He has so much to offer, and I think that being coached up or in the right team, that's like if we're talking the Bucks or the Rams, man, I would be excited to see Zach Wilson sling it to those guys.
The Jets are in a wonderful Groundhog Day where they have twice in 5 years taken the most talented guy in the draft and been so bad organizationally that they end up on a new team. Sam Darnold might be broken forever. Zach Wilson, I hope they don't play for the first 8 weeks. I hope they don't play him all year, and I hope he goes somewhere else. And in 2 years, they're going to draft somebody else who they've ruined his career. Zach Wilson, I thought coming out into the draft was overrated. I really did, but the talent is there. And again, when you're talking floor and ceiling, Mac Jones always has a very high floor. He's got a very low ceiling. Zach Wilson has the potential to be a short Mahomes. I don't see it, but that's what he could be. The best Mac Jones could be is like bad Matt Ryan, bad Kurt Warner, bad versions of media. Good Chad Pennington.
Bad Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, good Chad Pennington. The same, like that's it.
At what point do quarterbacks that are drafted by the Jets or any other cluster of a franchise start saying, no, I'm not going there?
Ask Elway.
Suicides. No, I understand that. And there has to be a point where these guys coming out of college are like, no, I'm not going there. I'm not going to the New York Jets. That's career suicide. There's got to be a point where that happens. If Zach, I mean, look at the Browns, look at the Jets, right? Like two shining examples of just literally like the most dysfunctional franchise inside and out. If I got drafted by one of them, I think I'd say no if I was a quarterback. I'd be like, no, I'm not going there. Nope, not doing it. I just don't think it's worth the risk. But anyway, sorry, back to it.
Yeah, so we have Matt White saying that Zach Wilson is dripping in swag compared to Mac Jones. Great point. I mean, when you take a quarterback, it's all about the swag. No, I mean, I do think I just feel like, I don't know, Zach Wilson is an exciting. If I was like the Jets, I feel like I'd be excited that Zach Wilson was the quarterback. I mean, and again, it's all about how you organizationally set things up around them. I don't know. I think the Jets are going to take a step forward this year. It doesn't have to be a big step, but if they win another game or two and you see Zach Wilson make some type of progress, that's trending in the right direction for them. They don't have to do a whole lot this year to be better than last year and to take a step in the right direction. Frank, go ahead.
He can drip in all the swag he wants to. I don't recall him winning a lot of games. He can be the Mormon Mahomes all he wants to. I don't recall him winning a lot of games.
I hope you're catching the sarcasm because I was laying it on pretty thick.
No, I mean for the comment. I mean for the comment.
Yeah.
Come on now. Come on. And I'm choosing Zach Wilson for the exercise. But Zach Wilson hasn't done anything, and his swag means nothing.
We draft quarterbacks for their swag.
Naturally.
Whitey is also an enormous fan of Zach LaVine. I can remember Whitey when Zach LaVine got drafted. He was loving his swag, like his haircut. So Whitey does fall for the guys that are dripping in swag. You can see why it's easy to.
Maybe he just has a thing for guys named Zach.
He's probably a big fan of Sauce Gardner. I loved that chain. Guy had to like hold his neck when he tried to run at the draft. All right, so, God, we have gone through almost the entire AFC, and we only have clear wins over two quarterbacks. Let's go into the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are going to most likely start Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett. If I have to guess at this point, I think it's going to be Kenny Pickett. If you have the rookie quarterback and he's showing him up in preseason, I mean, why not let him rip over Mitch Trubisky? Do you guys think that Trubisky's going to start this year? Do you think it's going to be Pickett? Let's start with that.
Pickett will end up starting. It's only a matter of time. I think that all it's going to take is a bad game or two, and they're going to say, all right, because Kenny Pickett's showing that he's pretty damn good. Even despite his tiny baby hands and his high fumble rate, I think he's a guy that you have to get on the field. The fumbles, I think, are going to be there inevitably, no matter when you put him out there. But the arm talent and the ability to make intelligent throws and assessments of the defenses is going to be there as well. And Mitch, man, he's going to have to play stellar football to hold off this rookie. So we'll see what happens. But I think Mitch is going to have to play lights out if he wants to hold on to this job. And if we're talking about who I want between the three of these guys, I would probably go Mac Jones right now. If I'm trying to win a championship, I would probably go Mac Jones over those guys. Although Mitch does have something. Kenny, I don't think has it yet. Not having seen him play, I can't put my name behind Kenny, but Mac is going to take it from me over these guys.
Yep. I agree with you as well before we go to Frank. I'm going with Kenny Pickett. I'm going with Mac Jones over those guys also.
You have a hypothetical championship roster this season, you go Mac Jones. Pickett's better than Jones in the long term. And here's the other thing. If you're the Steelers, hasn't the blueprint been laid out? You sit that dude 8 games, 9 games, unless your team physician stabs him in the lung. Unless that's what happens, you leave him out as long as possible. You let the veteran take the lumps. You end up with a better draft pick, whether it's Garoppolo and Bosa, whether it's the year the Patriots were bad in that early dynasty, which didn't lead to draft picks but free agents. it's always good for a dip in there.
All right, Whitey and Queens, bringing you on. It's funny because we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterbacks right now. Whitey's obviously a big Steelers fan. So, Whitey, in terms of the Trubisky and Pickett thing, you think Kenny Pickett's going to start the season? And would you go Mac Jones over the Steelers QBs right now, or would you go Steelers QBs?
What's up, fellas? So, so I watch every snap for every quarterback because I was sitting alone in a hotel waiting for a wedding. I was in San Diego, so I had, it was literally perfect. The wedding was at like 6 p.m. and the game was on at like 2 o'clock, so I was able to like watch every snap. I'm gonna tell you, Trubisky looked really good. I was shocked. Like he was completing passes like accurate. He was scrambling around. Like it's something I haven't seen watching the Steelers in 10 years. So I'm gonna confidently say Trubisky's going to start the season, and Tomlin already said that he's going to start the season.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and he's getting all the first team reps, so he's definitely going to start, and he looked really good. I'm going to tell you, like with the addition of Pickens on that team, oh my God, the Pickens made Rudolph look like Troy Aikman out there. It was insane. Like this kid looks so good. Did you see that touchdown he had in the corner end zone, toe tap?
I heard about it. I didn't see it.
Oh, it was ridiculous. Yeah, I think either way, like we have a huge upgrade from Big Ben, regardless who starts Pickett or Trubisky, because they can actually move around. Both showed scrambling ability, both showed accuracy. So I think I am perfectly calm letting Trubisky start and letting Pickett just learn, watch, and, throw him in like towards the middle of the year.
Yeah. And if Trubisky if he's hot, starts out well, I mean, just ride with him until he's not anymore. But I mean, if he's looking good, I mean, that's a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, it's a total up. Just the eye test. Like watching Big Ben last year, like he just could not move, and like every throw he made was either like a 3-yard drop off or like he just chucked it deep to Claypool. It was really painful to watch, and I didn't see any of that with Trubisky and Pickett. So
yeah.
I think we're going to be better.
Barry Sanders next to Ben Roethlisberger. My God.
What's that?
I said Trubisky must look like Barry Sanders next to Ben Roethlisberger. It must be refreshing to have a quarterback that can move.
Yeah, it is. I mean, even you saw Ryan Clark when we signed Trubisky. Ryan Clark, who's like he was teammates with Big Ben. He even said that's an upgrade next year because with the NFL, you need to be able to move in the pocket. You need to be able to scramble. Big Ben cannot do that anymore, and Trubisky can do that. He's really athletic. I mean, he was drafted really high for a reason. I think he just had trouble like throwing some really bad picks and like some accuracy, but he looked good the other night.
Well, as I predicted, this segment is taking way longer than the 5 or 6 minutes that we were hoping. So we're gonna cut it off after this. We'll just do the AFC this week, guys. And right now, we basically only have 3 clear wins for Mac Jones over the starting quarterbacks. I think he's about to get his 4th, though. So the Tennessee Titans start Ryan Tannehill. Are you guys going Mac Jones or are you going Ryan Tannehill for the season? I'm going to go Mac Jones. I had Ryan Tannehill on my fantasy team last year, and I wanted to puke every start. I mean, this guy is, I don't know. Ryan Tannehill was good a couple of years ago. He was honestly a joke last year. So I think I'm just too scarred up from him in terms of fantasy. Witnessing him every start last year, he was terrible. I think he had like 13 touchdowns. So I'm going to go Mac Jones over him.
I'm absolutely going Tannehill. I don't even think it's close. And that's sad because I don't love Tannehill at all. I don't even like Tannehill. I just think at this stage of their career, he can make more plays. Tannehill's faster. And I have no faith in these wide receivers turned quarterbacks, whether it's Matt Jones way back when, whether it's Mitchell Trubisky. I have faith in none of them. But Ryan Tannehill's maybe the best of that bunch. And I think at this stage, I take him over Mac.
Yeah, I'll take Tannehill over Mac Jones right now. This season, yeah, I'll take Tannehill.
Whitey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement there. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Mac Jones probably will become better, but Tannehill's more like NFL ready, I guess. I mean, he's like won playoff games and he's faster, like they said.
Yeah. I'm going to go Mac Jones. I mean, screw it. See what we got. Tannehill just killed me last year. My God.
Tannehill made the playoffs in real life. I know that sucks for your fantasy team.
Weren't they number
Tannehill
one?
still made the playoffs.
Weren't they the number one team in the AFC last year?
They were, but it wasn't because of Tannehill. It was because of Derrick Henry and
Who they
What?
lost?
huh?
Who they lost? Or AJ Brown, who they traded, or Julio Jones, who's injured and no longer with the team.
Hey, I'm not saying they have a good GM. I mean, excuse me. If I was Mike Vrabel, I'd be very, very upset that they traded AJ Brown. I mean, AJ Brown is everything you hope you can get when you draft a receiver. And I think that really sucks that they traded him. I think he's going to have a huge year this year, even though he doesn't even have a legit quarterback. So we had we only had Mac Jones beat out 3 of the 16 teams in the AFC. So Mac Jones not pacing too well to do well on the open season rankings, as I had thought. I don't think these are going to be very forgiving to him, and so we'll see. I feel like Mac Jones is the type of guy, he just needs everything to be great around him. If he had a great running game, a great defense, sure, he could be good. But it's like when you're going to count on him to try to bring up the offense or score a lot of points, I just don't see him being able to keep pace with some of these other top-notch quarterbacks, especially in the AFC. So if we're to move on from that a little bit, there's a couple guys getting a lot of hype in the preseason right now. One of those is Saquon Barkley. One of those is Brandon Ayuk, and the other is George Pickens. So let's go one by one in terms of, are we buying the hype? Saquon Barkley, I'm going to buy the hype. I just feel like this guy, I think this is this his 4th season or his 5th? 5th.
5th, right? Yeah.
I mean, he's just been bitten by the injury bug every year. Those first 2 years were great out of like completely having nothing. I just feel like if he's ever going to be good, I know this is never the right justification, but if he's ever going to be good, this is going to be the year. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to be this healthy again in his career. I like it for Saquon Barkley. I think they're opening up the offense a little bit. They've gotten in some better weapons over there. They got Joe Judge the hell out of there. I think Daniel Jones had thrown like 21 touchdowns in 2 years with Joe Judge. He threw 24 touchdowns his first year. So I'll take Saquon Barkley. I'll buy the hype on him. Frank, what do you think?
I'm not buying the hype on Saquon. You know why? Because he's going to get hurt again. Yes, they have improved the offense. Yes, they have brought in a probably very capable offensive coordinator. I just think that the way Saquon is built, he is so injury prone, and the way he moves, I just feel as though he gets high ankle sprains like no one else. He's had terrible injury luck. It reminds me almost of like Bo Jackson, right? Like where he was just so powerful that he was destined for something awful to happen. Saquon is that type of athlete to me. And while his talent is off the charts when healthy, potentially the best running back prospect we have ever seen, at least in my lifetime, prospect-wise, he's the best we have ever seen. I'll give him the nod over AP. Incredible prospect. Could do it all. He's just so injury-prone, and even though that offense has made strides, brought in good offensive linemen, got in better receivers in there, brought in the new offensive coordinator, I just don't think it's enough. Am I rooting for Saquon? I am, because I think he works very hard. I want to see him succeed. We might not see him succeed in a Giants uniform. I almost want it to be a bad year just so he can leave when this year's over. Get the hell out of there.
Saquon is amazing.
That's an
and I hate
interesting
that you said that.
The
Because Darren McFadden was a better prospect than AP. Who cares what they were when they were prospects? One was a 9.8, one was a 9.9. Look it up. I'm just saying. So if we're going by prospect rating, who cares? Who cares? All right. At the end of the day, Saquon showed you his rookie year. What was it? 1,400 yards behind no one, behind you and your brothers. Like, he'll be fine. And I said this to Billy earlier before the show. There was a clear succession that Saquon was going to take the mantle of. And it's the one healthy running back every generation. It went Dickerson, it went Emmitt Smith, it went LT, it went AP, and it was supposed to go Saquon. It didn't. I think you can pretty much bank on this guy running for 1,000 yards, maybe 6 out of the next 8 years.
Wow.
I'd love to see it. I would love to see it. It's just tough after the last 2 seasons, really 3 seasons. He's been injury prone for 3 straight years. I think he almost has to lose muscle to be less injury prone. As crazy as that sounds, I just don't know what to say. Well, given his position,
to like stop squatting.
It's also his running style that I don't think ages well. Like he's kind of like, I don't know. It's like one rush, -3 yards, one rush, 2 yards, one rush, 1 yard, one rush, 45 yards, and then his yard per carry looks good. It's like that's not sustainable. I know a lot of Giants fans that were just losing their mind at that because he doesn't. When you watch him play, he's super athletic. So like he can have those long. He can break out for like a long run, but like it doesn't look like he attacks the holes when he runs. It looks like he runs more sideways and tries to just make the big play every time. And I feel like once you start getting injured, that just doesn't work. You know, like you have to learn how to like age. Like look at Frank Gore, consistently running between the tackles, and he lasted forever. I just don't see that with Saquon Barkley, but I think he'll have a good year like this year. I just don't think it's sustainable long term.
Right. I think Saquon's too extra. He does too much, which has led to him getting hurt, led to him not getting those easy 2-3 yards when instead he ends up getting 0 or 1 yard. He could have settled, gone straight up the hole, powered through some guys, gotten 3 or 4 yards. And being the East and West guy, you're way more injury prone. That's how you tear ACLs. That's how bad things happen than going straight forward.
Alex, the North, South, East, West thing absolutely matters. You're right there. Prior to that, everybody that we just mentioned was 3 yards in a cloud of dust and then a 60-yard run. AP, Eric Dickerson, Frank Gore were all 3 yards in a cloud of dust and then a 60-yard run. So I don't think Saquon having that style means that he is not a candidate for longevity. Already having been injured, sure. The fact that he's more East-West than those guys, absolutely. But the fact that he's 3 yards in a cloud of dust and then a 60-yard burst is not uncommon for other running backs who lasted a very long time.
To be fair, he's not 3 yards in a cloud of dust. He's like 1 or 0 yards in a cloud.
Can you refer to Barry Sanders then?
Yes, he is closer to a Barry Sanders than anyone else that we have seen.
And how long did Barry Sanders last? He retired early.
A very long time and then said, I'm not playing for Detroit anymore. Yeah.
Like, is it just me or does Saquon Barkley, like, can he not go like one game without trying to like jump over a tackler like 5 times a game? Like, doesn't that also increase stress on your legs?
He's just too extra. He needs
exactly.
to just be a fundamental running back. Watch Derrick Henry. Watch Adrian Peterson. Just go hit the holes. You're 235 pounds.
Watch Todd Gurley.
4.33 40. Just hit the holes, take your yards, and get back.
Let's move on to George Pickens. We've got Whitey on, so I'm sure he's pretty excited about George Pickens. He's been making some incredible catches against the Seahawks the other day in practice. Deontay Johnson is talking about how, people can't cover him. Whitey, what do you think about George Pickens? Tell us a little bit about the buzz with him around Steelers camp.
Yeah, he's probably been just lighting up every single one that guards him, and like he's been, like I said earlier, he's been making Mason Rudolph look good. So that has to tell you something. He's a stud. Like the only reason why he fell to where he was drafted because he tore his ACL in 2021. But I mean, he's just lighting up the camp. Everyone's talking about him, and for just reason. He even got did you guys hear his new nickname everyone has for him?
What is it?
NFL Young Boy. I guess there's a rapper. I don't listen to rap anymore, but apparently there's a rapper named NBA young boy. So everyone's calling him NFL young boy because he's just lighting it up. And you saw it in the preseason game. He was all over the place. He was getting catches everywhere. He had a fade into the end zone. It was like a 30-yard bomb that he just caught perfectly. He got the toe tap in right on the edge of the other corner. It was nasty. So I'm ecstatic over this kid because the more weapons we have for Pickett or Trubisky, the better. So I'm really excited. I think he's going to be a quality fantasy product too.
I could not be higher on George Pickens. I took him in various fantasy drafts, Dynasty especially. I just, when the Steelers take a wide receiver, I just get all tingly inside. You know that guy's going to hit. Now, unfortunately, sometimes you get an absolute head case, like Antonio Brown or Juju. I would say Juju's a bit of a head case as well with his need for TikTok antics, and Chase Claypool being possibly the most immature wide receiver in the NFL now that Antonio Brown's gone. George Pickens also has maturity issues, but he is extremely talented. The way he attacks the ball, runs his routes, and bullies smaller cornerbacks. He's going to be a fun guy to watch, man. And I'm buying the hype on him. I think he's going to be a very big fantasy producer this year. I'm going to say that he'll probably end up being the Steelers' number one wide receiver within the next 2 years. And I can't wait to see him hit it, especially once Pickett's in there throwing him the ball.
Yeah, he seems like a great prospect. I mean,
what's crazy is the Steelers never draft these people high. They take them in like the 3rd and 4th round. They always hit somehow. It's like,
can I be
mind-boggling
here? Because I'm not that high on him, and it's not that I'm not high on him. I think he'll be a Steeler receiver. I think from Hines Ward down to Deontay Johnson, he will be a Steeler receiver, an uber productive, splashy highlight receiver. I don't have a lot of faith in him ever being a top 5 receiver in this league. Like, what do you say? Are you buying the hype? What are we talking about? Saquon, if he stays healthy, I think we all agree is a top 5 back. We just differ on whether or not we think he can stay healthy. Pickens is a top 12 receiver. He's going to be
at his potential, at his top tier potential, right? Top 12, you think?
Sure, but if that's the case, so is Deontay and so is Chase, and none of them are there. So when you say, are you high on him? I think he'll be productive. I think he's a good wide receiver. I think all the guys that the Steelers seem to draft at that position are always good. I like almost all of them. I liked James Washington, for crying out loud. But I don't think he's a definitive number 1. And because the hype has become so disproportionate, no, I don't think he's going to live up to the hype that it's becoming.
Do you know why I love Pickens, though? I mean, I think he's a perfect bridge between Claypool and Deontay Johnson. Claypool, basically, his biggest strength is leaping and catching lobs because he's super big, super tall, and strong. Deontay Johnson's skill is impeccable route running. And he had his issue with drops like a few years ago, but he seemed to clean that up last year. And I know if you guys watch Get Up, Orlovsky had multiple segments just breaking down ridiculous routes that he ran that got open.
His routes are nasty.
And then Pickens, I think, is a combination of the two. I think he could be an elite route runner and he could catch, lobs. And he can jump over cornerbacks and get those high passes. So that's why I'm excited. And if we're debating if he's the top 12, that fact itself is just crazy. We just took him with the 51st pick. So the fact that he's being considered in top 12,
that's what I was going to say, Frank. When you're saying what do we consider if he's good? I would say if you're thinking he's going to be a good NFL wide receiver, I'd say then you're pretty much on the mark for you're thinking that it was good if you think he's going to be a good NFL receiver, right?
I'm buying the hype that he is going to be a good to great NFL wide receiver.
I don't see the to great. That was my only point. I don't see the to great.
If you're anywhere from 10 to 20, I define that as a great.
That's his ceiling. I never said I had any faith in him to get to his ceiling. I said that's his ceiling. His ceiling is still not one of the best receivers in the league, and I don't think he'll reach his ceiling. And I don't think Chase will either. I think of the 3 guys, the one closest to reaching their ceiling is Deontay because he's the most polished of the 3. Drops is usually, by the time you get to the NFL, it's usually not hands. By the time you get to the NFL, if you struggle with drops, it's usually concentration. I think that's an easier problem to fix than the other two bigger guys being bigger, bulkier, more prone to injury, and less good at route running.
Deontay Johnson, if you probably had to bet on it, will probably be the most success. Like, I would say he has the best like odds to be the most successful. But if that's your point, yeah.
When we get to Brandon Ayuk, let's define what the hype is, and then say whether or not we're gonna,
Oh, I was gonna just skip Brandon Ayuk at this point.
Nope. Do it.
Yeah, I have big thoughts on this as well, so we can't skip Brandon.
All right, Brandon Ayuk, are we buying the hype on it? Frank, let's just go to you.
Absolutely. And when you said define the hype, that guy's behind Pickens. in terms of ceiling. I do think he's got a higher floor. And the thing I like better with Ayuk is I think he's going to be a better East-West player. I think he's got a lot of the Debo versatility and multiple ability while being a significantly less polished route runner. He doesn't have nearly the complete route tree that Debo has, but you can drop screens to him. He can block. He can go reverse. He can catch 50-50 balls. I think Ayuk has tons of talent. Like Pickens, he struggles with maturity. I don't have a lot of faith in his ability to stay healthy. But if you have Brandon Ayuk for 16 games and Debo's on the other side getting double teamed, you're looking at a guy who's going to catch an awful lot of balls and have screen passes and have rushing attempts.
All right. I second Frank. I am buying the hype on Ayuk. I do think that there's probably going to be a lot of mouths to feed in that offense, but I just think Trey Lance is going to open everything up more. Like Trey Lance and Jimmy, from what I've seen from Lance, I think this dude's going to be like legit. I think Lance is going to light it up, and defenses are going to have their hands full. I'll be surprised if Ayuk doesn't have at least a 900-yard season, probably about 70 receptions, and I want to say 7 touchdowns. That's my projection for Ayuk, and that's on the conservative side. With Debo, George Kittle, the running back situation they have, as well as their backup wide receivers, I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of mouths to feed, but I think Ayuk's going to come through and be a very, very productive player for them.
Yeah, you probably saw me nodding my head along with both of you. I couldn't agree more with both of you how you think. I mean, his versatility, using him on screens, giving him rush attempts. I think it's interesting that the 49ers, they pretty much have like 2 of these same type receivers, like these type of running back in wide receiver bodies, and both leading the NFL in yak. I mean, it's like incredibly, you get kind of like juiced up, like looking at these guys, the way that they catch and stuff like that and break away and keep it going. I like what they're doing over there. I think that Ayuk, if he stays healthy, I think there's great things there. And Alex, your projections are definitely, on point. I'd say too, as far as like the low end of what he'll hit. I mean, he should probably get if he stays healthy. I mean, he should get 1,000 yards. But I think he'll be productive there as well. I like him as a prospect. Still pretty young too. What's he, like 24? 25?
Yes, 24 years old.
Yeah. Why do you like Ayuk?
I like the talent, but isn't Trey Lance known to not be that accurate? That's what I heard. He's not the most accurate. So I feel like when your quarterback isn't really accurate, you're not going to get those yak numbers because you're going to have to like stretch out to make a catch. Whereas it's going to be a lot harder to transition to a run. If the ball is not placed right, at your chest, are you going to be able to get those yard after completion numbers? But I don't know. I mean, I haven't really seen Trey Lance, so I guess if you guys watch film on him, does he struggle with accuracy? That's what I've been hearing everyone say.
Who's watched Trey Lance?
I've watched Trey Lance, but I don't feel like my opinion should be valid because I liked Kellen Mond in that draft, and Kellen Mond is bad. So sometimes you're just wrong.
I don't think your opinion's valid either, Frank. So, I mean,
I mean, Trey Lance just passed for 92 yards and a touchdown in his last preseason game. First preseason game, right? Look, he is the NFL's like prime breakout candidate from the quarterback position. I mean, he only threw 5 passes and completed 4. Yes, it was a small sample size, but it was enough for people to mention him in the same breath as like a Mahomes, like a guy who sat for a year behind a Alex Smith, Jimmy Garoppolo type quarterback, and is now going to have his chance to absolutely shine after learning. Because believe me, I think that Mahomes learned from Alex Smith, and anyone who doesn't think that is absolutely wrong. And I think, who did Garoppolo learn from? Brady. Who would Garoppolo be if he didn't spend time behind Tom? Who would he be?
Brett Favre?
Garoppolo. No, Garoppolo would be a nobody.
Bigger wuss if he didn't hang out with Brady. I didn't think that was possible.
I think that Trey Lance has learned from the way Garoppolo operated, because Garoppolo is not an insanely talented quarterback. And when you have a guy who doesn't have that level of arm strength or mobility, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of things that Trey Lance has that Jimmy doesn't. You learn from someone like that. I think Trey Lance is going to be fantastic this year. I cannot wait to see what he does.
Well, Frank, I saw you laughing when you brought up Mahomes. I was kind of laughing too. Do you have any comment on that?
We'll see if you're laughing next year.
I think the better comparison is Kaepernick after Alex Smith. I genuinely don't think that it's Mahomes. I think Mahomes is, I don't want to say special, because I think that there's going to be a lot of him in the league over the next couple of years. I think we have Herbert. I think we have other kind of Mahomes clones, if you will. But this guy's not that. I don't think Trey Lance is that. Trey Lance to me is closer to RG3 if he had panned out.
Sure.
A little bit more stocky with a better deep ball, but I'm not sure that he can throw it into the tightest of windows in a playoff game. I'm not convinced of that from Trey Lance at all. I'm not convinced that his accuracy in tight windows is going to be great. He's going to throw for a ton of yards, get a bunch of touchdowns. With that scheme and his arm, it's going to look pretty in the regular season. And then when defense and officiating gets tighter, I don't know that he's a winning quarterback.
I guess we'll see.
All right. Well, we're going to do that AFC South and NFC South preview. Don't have a whole lot of time. Let's just go.
How much time could those divisions possibly take?
We could do them both in a minute.
We could talk about Malcolm Butler. He was just cut from the Patriots.
Can they cut him? They put him on IR. Can you cut somebody
on IR? Excuse me, whatever you want to call it.
But excuse me. The interesting thing is, though, they said that someone who was reporting on it said like the injury was unclear or something. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they put him on IR as a way to kind of like release him or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like maybe the Pats won't technically release him. Like maybe they're doing him a solid, but yeah, that's crazy. Before the reunion could even start, it's over. And I honestly thought that Malcolm Butler wasn't going to make this team in a lot of regards. But it adds a little bit more of questions to their secondary. They don't have a lot of age in that secondary. A lot of young bodies. So we'll see how that goes. Getting into the AFC and NFC South, we should probably just save that for next week. I'll have to talk like an auctioneer to get that one off. Let's talk about Durant. So the latest rumor is that, maybe he would retire. We just keep hearing things. It's like, I don't understand it. He wants the GM gone, but he's basically been the GM. He set everything up there. He decided to tie his wagon to Kyrie. He decided to, help get rid of Kenny Atkinson and bring in Steve Nash. And he even actually backed Steve Nash after they lost to the Celtics. I mean, does this guy have amnesia? He, a couple months ago after he lost to the Celtics, was saying that he still backed Steve Nash and was hoping that he'd be back. So it's just crazy. Like, I just feel like he's killing his legacy. And it's like, if you're another team, why do you even want him at this point? I mean, he's so he's going to kill you if he doesn't buy in. So with that being said, the Celtics still seem to be the favorite for him. Are you guys pulling for them to get Durant at this point? Because I'm starting to maybe talk myself into the fact I was for the Durant. I'm starting to maybe talk myself into more of like just hanging on to Jalen and running it back.
This is easy for me. If you as an organization think Jaylen Brown is going to stay, you keep them together. If not, you get rid of them. But I've always said this should be a stalemate. If I'm Durant and I genuinely want out, I'm not playing for the Nets again, even though I don't think he has the resolve or fortitude to do that. But that's what I do. If I'm the Nets and you just signed for 5 years, I'm not trading you. And if I'm the Celtics or any other team in the league, I'm not giving you Ayton, even though I know they can't do it now because of the restrictions with the new contract. But if I'm the Celtics, I'm not giving you Brown. The answer is no. I've said it the whole time. Where in the world do I know you want to get rid of this and I'm going to give you max value? If I'm everybody, I'm holding pat. And this is just going to be very uncomfortable.
Why do you want to go?
If I'm the Celtics, I'm making the move. I'm not even going to think twice about it. I mean, this dude is literally one of the best scorers of all time. You got to realize, up until last year, he's never really had any of these issues. I mean, you had like the burner phone. I guess that was like funny, but it wasn't really a big deal. I mean, you got to think like Kyrie is nuts. You got to think Kyrie just rubbed off on him a little bit. He's got some weird thing going on with Kyrie. If he separates from Kyrie, goes to a stable organization like the Celtics, I mean, what he does, he hoops like that. He comes into work and he plays and he dominates when he does. I mean, I just think he needs a new change of scenery. And the Celtics, I think he would ball out in the Celtics, honestly. If you only have to give up Jalen, Marcus Smart, and a few draft picks, I mean, you got to do it because he'll take you over the hump. I mean, you're like almost there. If you go from Jalen to KD, I mean, KD won rings, like he's a winner. I think Kyrie just polluted his head a little bit last year and he wanted out. And now it's like the media is just overblowing things.
For me, I don't think we should have to give up Jalen to get Kevin Durant. I think they've completely inflated Kevin Durant's value. I think that Sean Marks is posturing because he knows he's screwed. Someone has to become very desperate to win a championship or be one piece away and not have to gut their entire team to gain a Kevin Durant. Like, if you're the Nets and you're offered Jaylen Brown straight up for Kevin Durant and you say no, how insane are you as a GM right now?
Yeah,
in my honest opinion. Who would have ever thought we'd be saying that? I mean, I was the only one who was cheering in all of Boston when Jaylen Brown was drafted. But having said that, the Nets have no leverage. They have no leverage.
What evidence do we have that Kevin Durant is a winner? We can no longer call him a loser. But what evidence do we have that he's a winner? He can be a vital cog in something that's already a winner. But what evidence do we have that he is a winner? We have none of that.
I mean, he got finals MVP over Steph. I mean, he came in, he was the clear number one on the Warriors with the Splash Brothers in the finals.
The offense didn't run through him. They didn't retain him, and they won before and after he got there. His 2 rings have never looked less valid than this year. Are you kidding? He lost 3-1.
I will stop you there. The offense ran through him in Golden State.
No, it didn't.
Who did it run through? He was getting the touch every time down the floor.
Agreed, because he was the best offensive player and the best player. Their scheme was still all drawn up with the idea that the defense is going to play Steph to not hit 35-footers. It was. Go back and watch it. I'm sorry. Steph was doubled just as much as Kevin Durant, and that's what their teammates say as well. It's what Iggy says. That's what Draymond says. That's what I saw. So Durant I'm just saying that offense ran through Steph.
Still, Durant was the best player on that team.
Agreed. But I've seen a bunch of the best players on a team not be the reason for why their team wins. Chauncey Billups was the best player on that team. Ben Wallace was equally as important. So again, I just don't have any evidence he's a winner. I have evidence he's not a loser. I have evidence that he's a great scorer and an all-time player. I don't have evidence he's a winner.
All right, put it this way. The Warriors just lost to LeBron. KD joins them, and then they beat LeBron. The Celtics just lost to the Warriors, so if KD goes to the Celtics, he can take them above the next level, the same way he brought the Warriors to the next level.
The Warriors were already a level above where we are. The Warriors had just already won a championship, and yes, they lost, but they lost after going 73-9.
The Warriors only won a championship because everyone on the Cavs got hurt. It's so unspoken, but you lose Kyrie and Kevin Love, like
Yep.
LeBron by
It was
himself.
LeBron versus.
Yeah, it was LeBron versus everyone.
Yeah.
And he had no chance. I mean, LeBron did everything he could, but there's only so much you can do, even as the best basketball player in the world.
Well, we've done everything we can do on this episode of Open Season. We appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next week, same time, same place. Whitey, thanks for calling in, and we'll check you then.
Thanks, fellas.